And action. Hi everybody, it's me, JBR, coming at you with another Theater Thursday. As you know, every Thursday I do a movie review. This time I'm going to be doing Wreck-It Ralph. This is a really good movie. I wanted to do this movie. But if you don't know anything about it, or if you haven't seen it, consider this your spoiler alert. Okay. Okay, so, let's start. Wreck-It Ralph stars this. It's all in this video game world. Like, you know, it's in the world that, like, kind of like similar to like Toy Story and like things of that nature, that inanimate objects can come to life. In the same kind of order, Wreck-It Ralph shows that video game and video game characters like live outside of their games and they have their own like lives. And like it tells like their origin and like how I guess they came to be. And so in Wreck-It Ralph, there's this, you know, one game that it really circles around. The name of the game is called Fix It Felix is the name of the game, but the bad guy is named Ralph, and he is he destroys stuff because he's a bad guy. So like his story is that, you know, he's the bad guy of the game, and like he's kind of done this for 30 years now, and he's just like he's kind of in a rut. He doesn't like really see like what the point is, I guess, of doing like evil, like in a way. Like he feels like he's in a rut and he's like doing the same thing over and over, and that like he's not only that, but he's like not, because he's the bad guy, he's not being treated like an individual, like like equally as a person. He's like being treated like just as a bad guy. Like people aren't like judging him by his character when he's not technically Wreck-It Ralph, you know, like they're judging him based off of being a bad guy, and that's it. And, you know, he kind of gets sick of that, so one day he decides to try to be a hero, and tries to prove everybody else that he could do more than just destroy things. And then so he leaves his game, which is obviously bad, because if you leave your game and you die, like, you don't regenerate, and obviously if you don't regenerate, obviously your game could get unplugged because the kids in the arcade will think that your game is broken. So, but he goes on like his own adventure to try to be a hero, and obviously it proves to be a little bit difficult, because he ends up in this like game that's like a more like modern day, like what we have today, like kind of like Call of Duty type of thing, where you are like in an army and you have to fight these bugs, and if you win, the winner gets a medal that's his hero on it. So obviously when Ralph ends up in this game, he thinks that this is like his ticket, that this medal will like prove everything and like solve all his problems and everything. And so he kind of sneaks through the game past like the general and stuff, and he ends up getting the medal. But what he doesn't know is that, you know, because he left his game, people are starting to think that his game is broken. So his co-worker and technical hero of his game, Felix, or Fix It Felix, goes after him. So because they think he's going turbo. Now, turbo is a term that the video game people are using, that because years ago there used to be this game called Turbo-tastic, which was a racing game. It was about this guy named Turbo. Now, he was the most popular game at the time, and when another game got plugged in and it was very similar, it was more like better graphics and like things like that, Turbo got really jealous. So he left his game to take over the other one, and he ended up unplugging both games. So now going turbo is used as like a negative term when, I guess, a video game character goes outside their programming and starts to want more out of just the typical day-to-day video game in their own. You know what I'm saying? But so he goes in. So Felix goes in after Ralph, And obviously he's like talking to the general, and he's like, oh, I'm looking for my friend Wreck-It Ralph, and she's like, oh, I haven't seen him, nothing gets past me. And then he accidentally gets attacked by one of the bugs in the game, and he ends up getting in like a ship, like a space cruiser type thing, and he goes past them. And so he ends up crashing through other games. He ends up crashing through in another game called Sugar Rush. Now this is a racing game, but it's like, you know, all candy and like sugary and stuff. And this is where he meets his friend Vanellope, or Vanellope von Schweetz. She is a racer, but she, or at least she's an aspiring racer. She, like, you know, she's not like the other characters. Like, she's a glitch, which is like, obviously it's, you know, an imperfection in a game. It's something that's not supposed to be there, and everybody treats her differently, kind of like how Ralph gets treated differently for being a bad guy. She gets treated differently for being a glitch or being an imperfection, and obviously that's not cool. But, you know, they, like, you know, they end up teaming together because she uses his medal that he wins to get into the race, because you have to use a medal medallion, like coin. So she uses a medal as profit. So obviously, like, he wants his medal back, and she wants to race. So they end up teaming together to try to win the race and the medal back. So they build a cart, and he teaches Vanellope how to drive, and like it's in a like abandoned bonus level type. It's like with soda. It's a Pepsi and or Coca-Cola, and like, you know, the Mentos thing. Like, there's Mentos on the roof of this like dome that in this glitch that she lives in. So he like teaches her how to drive, and she ends up getting really good. And then obviously, like, Fix-It Felix and the General from the other games are still following them and trying to stop the Cybug and try to bring, you know, Ralph back. And obviously, they are trying to, like, explain, like, they're trying to get to them, and obviously stuff is getting in the way. Like, you actually find out that the General is so, like, intense, like, she's really intense, because she actually lost her husband due to the Cybugs, and it's really upsetting, you know, whatever. But then Fix-It Felix and her kind of end up having like somewhat of a bond, so they like, but she tries to ignore it because they're trying to get the Cybug. And so after they like train and stuff, the King Candy, the like, you know, ruler of the land of Sugar Rush, is trying to have Ralph explain. He wants Ralph to have Vanellope drop out of the race, and now this is because he says that if she races, that, hold on a second, there we go. If she races, that, you know, and people see her glitching, like going, you know, doing what she does, that the gamers will think that there's something wrong with the game, and that they'll get unplugged. Now, because she's a glitch, she can't leave her game, so he tells Ralph that if the game gets unplugged, that she would die with the game because she's stuck there. So Ralph obviously listens to him because it makes sense. Now, in a way, this is all trickery, but, you know, Ralph doesn't know, and he just, you know, King Candy just wanted her out of the race in a way because she's a glitch, and that because she's, like, not right in the, like, societal way, I guess, and you could say. But, so Ralph tries to explain to Vanellope that she shouldn't race because of these reasons, and she doesn't care. So to keep her from racing, he destroys her cart. And so she gets really upset, and then he goes to leave, and then he goes back to his game, but then he sees that everybody is gone. Like, why is everybody missing? And then he actually runs into the guy that owns the building in his game, and he starts saying about why, you know, Wreck-It Ralph shouldn't have left because now their game is going to be unplugged in the morning and stuff. And then when he's like regretting his decisions, he is looking through the glass of his game and he sees Sugar Rush, and then he looks at the arcade style on the side, and Vanellope's on it. Now, obviously, this is curious. If she's supposed to be a glitch and she's supposed to be not included in this game and she's supposed to not be there, why is she on the game, on the side of the game like console thing? So he goes back to Sugar Rush and he talks to like the king's like advisor kinda, which is a piece of candy. He's like a sour piece of candy. He's like all dull and stuff. And he says, "Oh, I don't know," and he obviously doesn't answer. But he says that Vanellope actually used to be a racer, but that for some reason, she ended up being a glitch, or for some reason, you know, the king locked up all the people's memories, and that he made her the glitch. Nobody knows why, but that's, I guess, so what, you know, why is the king doing all these things? So he ends up finding out that Fix-It Felix, you know, the hero of his game, ended up getting arrested. So he breaks him out of prison, and then they apologize to each other for why he left and why Felix treated Ralph differently and stuff. And then Fix-It Felix fixes the cart that he broke, and then they break Vanellope out of prison because Vanellope got arrested, or to keep her from racing. So then they break her out, and then they bring her to the track, and then she ends up racing, and then it's it's down to the wire. It's between her and King Candy. But then when she's in trouble and stuff, she ends up glitching because she's all nervous and stuff, and she ends up glitching King Candy, and King Candy ends up being exposed as Turbo. You know, Turbo from Turbotastic, what I said about earlier. So it ends up being that the reason why he locked everybody's memories up and why he controls this game and stuff is because he wants to be the best racer ever, and he's not going to have any, you know, buddy stand in his way. So he tries to get Vanellope hurt by like almost ramming her into a wall that splits, and then she ends up glitching, and she ends up learning to control her glitch as like a kind of like a superpower, I guess. And then so she like ends up swerving or ends up glitching around, and then she ends up, you know, ends up almost winning because the King Candy gets eaten by a Cyborg, because the Cyborgs have attacked now, and they're all over King, and they're starting to devour the world, and she almost wins, but then she crashes because of the Cyborgs like lasers, and like they end up eating the finish line. Because if she would have crossed the finish line, everything would have like rebooted. It would have reset to how everything used to be before King Candy messed it all up. So, but then when they go to try to escape the game because everything was falling apart, obviously Vanellope can't leave because she's still a glitch and she still is broken. So she says it's okay, just go. And then so, you know, you think that Ralph is gonna, or you think everybody's gonna leave, but then the King Candy ends up being part Cybug, so he's like this monstrous bug, you know, King Candy thing. So he ends up taking Ralph away, and like, or he actually, well, Ralph had a way to destroy the Cybugs and to try to fix everything. He wanted to go back to that cola Mentos thing, and he was going to punch it so that all the Mentos in it so it would explode and all the Cybugs would fall into it and then they would die. So he goes to do that, but then the mayor, the bug monster now, he gets in the way. And then as everybody's starting to leave, obviously Vanellope's left all alone and the bugs are about to get her. And then she's like, "Oh, it's not going to be a happy ending for the both of you." And he's like, "No, just for me." And then he breaks away, and he falls, and then he punches but when he's falling, he looks at a necklace that Vanellope made him that says "You're my hero" on it. And it's made out of a cookie, and he repeats this chant that all the bad guys of video games have to like reassure them what they do is okay. And it's like, I am bad and that's good. I will never be good and that's not bad. There's no other person I'd rather be than me. And so when he falls, and then he punches it, and then everything falls, and then he like holds the necklace as he kind of like falls into kind of like thinking that he's gonna die or whatever. But then Vanellope goes to save him. She like glitches, and then she like saves him, and she says, "I got this under control," and then she speeds off, and then they fall into a pool of chocolate, and then they go back to Fix-It-Felix fixes the finish line, and then he's like, "Are you ready?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then he slightly pushes her, and then she crosses the finish line, and then everything lights up, and then everything like resets and reboots like how they said it would. But then something starts to happen. You notice that Vanellope starts to change herself. She starts to spin, and like sparkles go around her. And of course, doing Disney as Disney does, she ends up being a long-lost, forgotten princess that actually used to rule the land. So Vanellope actually technically is the rightful ruler of Sugar Rush. She ends up technically being the princess. But obviously with the memories and stuff, everybody didn't know and everybody forgot, and that's why they treated her so badly. And now she's saying that everybody who was mean to me, she like jokes with them saying that they'll be executed. And and obviously she's joking. But then she ends up giving up the princess title and says, "I'd rather be president." And then she like goes back to her like sweatpants or her sweat clothes instead of the princessy like wand and crown and everything. And then so she offers Ralph, "Hey, you could stay in the castle and nobody would ever bother you." And he's like, "No, I gotta go back to my game because I got a job to do." And then so they like insult each other as they leave. And then Ralph and Fix-It-Felix go back, and then obviously the repairman comes to see what's wrong with the game. But then obviously the game's all fixed because now Ralph is back. And then he starts saying about how the people of the building who treated him badly started treating him like more as an equal, and how like they how he built himself like his own little like shack out of bricks, and like how he helped some other games that were like, you know, unplugged, like he had them help with the bonus levels and stuff. And it ends up being like a really happy ending. He says, "Oh, the best part of my day is when I get thrown off the roof," because he gets a perfect view of Sugar Rush, and he sees how the gamers, like how he thought, are loving her, glitch and all. And he's like, "Oh, well, if that little kid likes me, how bad can I be?" Overall, it's a beautiful movie. I think it has a good message about treating people like a certain way. Like, I hate to be cheesy, but treat people how you want to be treated. Like, you know, everybody deserves to be treated as an equal. Like, nobody's lesser than you, nobody's higher than you. Everybody is the same, and they should be treated as such. Whether you're man, woman, dog, you know, invisible babies in space. You know, it doesn't matter. But if I had to rate the movie 1 out of 5, I'll give it a 5. It's beautiful, and I definitely recommend it. The only thing is, like, I'm worried about where Disney and like Pixar and all that stuff is starting to go, where it comes to inanimate objects coming alive. How far are they going to take it? But, you know, I'm not dissing it. I'm just curious. But that wraps up this video. If you have any suggestions, write down in the comments, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!